Um, First, this video that gives you some background.
I'll tell people, I work at Google. And what do you work on? I design search. And they kind of pause for a second, and they're like, what is there to design?
How can I help?
Hi. Even though Google's an engineering-driven company, you can tell by the video that design has become pretty central. However, 10 years ago when I started at Google, that was not the case. It was probably the most insecure point in my life. And here's this company, very successful company, touching billions of people's lives, with some of the smartest people on the planet working there, like real rocket scientists, not just the metaphor of rocket scientists. And actually, when I started, I went to orientation. I did a leadership workshop with Vint Cerf, the inventor of the internet. So you can imagine how intimidating it was to be there, because here I am, a graphic designer with an art degree. So 3 things were going through my mind. First, paranoia, like, oh my God, I can't fuck this up. I'll let down every other designer. 2, curiosity. When a spaceship lands in your backyard from an advanced civilization, how can you not go in? And 3, and most importantly, this hope and ambition, and maybe self-delusion and narcissism that, a designer, as if Google and companies like Google are shaping the future of the world and how we live and how our children might live, that we can't leave it to just the engineers. The designers and the artists have to come into the room and help shape that future. So we got there, and that's my badge, 10 years ago. And we tried to take everything that we've known, that we've built up in our career, like brand management, brand narratives, brand innovation, all these things. We said, this is what we're going to do for Google, for you guys. And the engineers looked at us like, what are you talking about? They have no idea what we were talking about. We kind of threw our hands in the air, and because they didn't understand this stuff, we just, let's make this our mission for the group. What kind of bunch of folks, animators, filmmakers, storytellers, designers, what could we do to add to the whole party that maybe even the inventor of the internet can't do? So one of the first things we did was I realized that, oh my gosh, every year Google had like over 900 innovations on search. you'd never know it. The homepage looked exactly the same. And we said, we should tell people about it. Like, if you type in your flight number, it would automatically pull up status. And the engineer's like, well, no, we've told people that. We've made videos. And I looked on YouTube, and they had 4 views, probably just their family members. And we're like, okay, that's not going to work. Maybe what we'll do is we try to figure out how to tell people this good stuff, but in a way that might be a little more delicious. I call it the baking the broccoli into the cupcake strategy. And it wasn't really about how good a search result is that shows up on a page. I think what we realized is, you know what? It's about the search results that show up in people's lives. And we made this little video. It makes you feel better. Thank you. The reaction was actually really great. We didn't expect it. Like online, you saw, this is my favorite comment. But even more interestingly, within Google, the reaction was amazing. Larry and Sergey, the founders, sent us an email saying, oh my gosh, timing was right. They just had their babies. I showed it to my wife and her friends, and they cried. I got lots of points for that. Thank you for making the video. And like, okay, here, Larry, Sergey, founder of Google, they got points from our video. So that was really cool. But even more interesting was that the day after, they decided to put it on TV. It was on the Super Bowl. Then Google's never placed an ad anywhere before. And the next morning, after it aired, Howard Stern, I don't know if anyone knows, he's a radio DJ, very rude, doesn't like anything, said, oh my gosh, I heard it on air. I didn't realize it was going to happen. Oh my gosh, did you guys see the commercial from Google last night? I didn't know you could do all that stuff. So we actually got the broccoli into the public. So then, Larry and Sergey were like, hey, that's cool. Like, maybe don't limit your creativity to just marketing. Why don't you guys look at our products? And the first obvious thing was like the Google Doodles. Everyone loves the Doodles, the homepage. But there's a really group doing that. So we decided to well, how can you, reinvent them? Take something people love and reinvent them. So we made the first interactive doodle, the first 3D doodle, and this is the first shareable doodle. So, thank you. So now we're gaining a little bit of credibility. Just before Larry Page became CEO about 4 years ago, he came to us and said, hey, can you guys redesign Google? And when I say Google, it's Google, email, Gmail, YouTube, Drive, everything, everything you know. And we're like, wait, we're not product designers or even UX people. And he's like, yeah, I know, but just take a shot because, the company, the way the company was organized, all the designers were embedded in each product group. So there was no horizontal, unified way to redesign all of Google unless you were, outsider of that system. So we said, okay, well, sure, we'll take a shot. I mean, when the CEO asks you, you kind of have to say yes. He says, and come back in 2 weeks, can you? We came back in 3 weeks. We couldn't get on his calendar. And all we did was we took the 10 most trafficked pages of Google, the homepage of google.com, your Gmail inbox, et cetera. And we printed them out the way they were at the moment when we pre-designing it. And then we did a bunch of iterations, and we designed different versions of afters. Here's 10 version 1, here's 10 version 2, et cetera, et cetera. And very superficial, without any deep knowledge of how user experiences work, et cetera. And then we brought that to the CEO, and we just did a Rorschach test, and I like this one. He's like, okay, great. Let's implement that before I become CEO. And he gave the company basically 3 months, and it happened. So everything that you see now in experience is basically from 10 comps that we did in the span of 3 weeks' time. And actually, he got credit for beautifying all of Google. What you experience now is basically work that a few designers on our team did. But no matter how great technology is, it's always way more amazing what people do with technology. And I was inspired by a story. We have 2 girls. They were about 3 and 5 at the time. And I was inspired by a story of an engineer at Google who created a Gmail account for his daughter when she was born and started writing to her and hoping to give it to her one day for her birthday when she turned 16 or something. And I thought that was such a great hack of the technology that we made an ad for it. Here it is.
Are you ready for your big party today? Huh?
I cry every time I watch that thing. I'm known as a crier at Google. So not only can design, beautify, tell stories about this stuff, but I've discovered that we can actually inspire what the engineers build. So I call this writing a fiction of the science. As you know, historically, science fiction has always inspired engineers. I think the cell phone was originally inspired by Captain Kirk's communicator. Even NASA, if you ever go to ground control, that's actually basically a ripoff of the set of Star Trek. So there's many examples of this, but I'll tell you a recent one. About 18 months ago, computer vision and machine learning has gotten to such a state that it's so advanced, it's incredible that when a computer can see the world and understand what it's seeing, and then offer you things to do against that understanding, it gets become really profound. So all through the company, in different groups, in the camera group, in the search group, in the photos group, they're all figuring out different ways to make this come to life in their product. We saw an opportunity of like, wait a minute, this is going to be a big, huge thing, and we need to figure out a way to unify it. And this is just a superficial branding thing, like at least make Google looking the same. Then we also made a film of like, okay, assuming this technology is perfected, in the future, what would life be like for a regular person when the camera can understand everything? And make this little film. I can't show you because it's actually top secret. It's now in the vault. It's like I think 23 different patents on it that basically a bunch of writers and designers just made up. But I will show you a couple of snippets of how this could work. And these snippets from the film then became the presentation that the CEO of the company gave at our last year. I love this one because I would love this right now, to be able to do that. And as you're walking down the street, it could be really smart. So he announced it. We gave it a name, Google Lens. We made an icon, as anyone knows. Once you give an icon and a name, the thing exists. To name it is to invent it. And it's interesting because there was no group at Google at the time that was in charge of this initiative. Because we packaged this whole thing up, our video and our work then initiated the company that invented the group that's now the Google Lens Group with a proper PM and an engineering team of like several hundred people now building towards this vision. When Sundar, who saw the video early on, said, "Oh my gosh, this is the plan, we have to do this," and he announced it, and actually the day after this announcement, a financial writer said, Google Lens might be the thing that will get the Google stock up past 1,000. Bunch of designers doing that stuff. But anyway, the main point I'm going to make is that, and I'm not just pandering to a room of designers, I do believe that designers are uniquely positioned to invent the future, potentially better than anyone else. And the reason why I say this is because the world is getting more specialized and complex and compartmentalized. You take any company or institution, government, whatever. There's lots of people in different areas of this thing. You have product 1, product 2, product 3, R&D, research, production, marketing, blah, blah, blah. But the only thing that matters, the only thing that decides whether the company or the institution is successful or not is what this thing spits out at the end to the world for the users, like what they actually see, what they hear, what they smell, what they touch, how they feel when they interact with you. And designers, we found, have the unique lightsaber power to create visions of these possible futures that didn't exist yet. So, 10 comps could become the whole redesign of Google, or a video become the whole new group within Google. And because once you paint that picture and it's compelling enough, then everyone lines up and, yeah, let's build that. Engineers want to build that, the company want to invest in it. And that's sometimes I feel like it's the shortest cut to getting intent, agreement, consent. So I think that's super cool. And I know we talk a lot about technology being the key driver to innovation. On the record, I want to say that that is completely false, fake news. It has always been, and it always will be, the human heart and human imagination that changes things, that builds the future. And design is that heart and that imagination manifested in tangible forms, whether it's a napkin sketch or a comp or a video, ultimately to the real thing that gets pumped out into the world, that real people use, that shapes the world that we live in, and shapes the world that our kids and our kids' will live in. Reminds me of a story. I know we're out of time, but I love the story of the 7-year-old girl who was drawing in class, and the teacher says, "What are you drawing?" And she says, "Well, I'm drawing God." And the teacher says, "Well, no one knows what God looks like." And she looks up and beams and says, "They will when I'm done." So, recently, last couple of years, I've come to the dumb, simple realization, but also kind of profound, that everything is made up. Everything. Countries, religions, every language that's ever been spoken on this planet. Croquette, I had a croquette for lunch today. One person at one point decided to fry potato into this thing, and now it's a national dish, and it's delicious. Pizza, Capri salad, now we take it for granted. This is the way the world is. But usually it's one person or a small group of people that did something great that everyone then copies and spreads. And so I feel humbled and honored to be part of this Justice League of designers that hopefully we can help shape the future, potentially even save it. And I think that's the end of my, sorry. Okay.